uh, Actually, there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, that's actually good to learn, traditional drafting, just to get used to the tools and understand how they work. I mean, it's much better to have a sense of how to build things this way as opposed to just relying on computer-based tools to do it. When I wrote the architecture exam back in '97, something like that, it was actually the last time that the architecture exam was hand drawn. The following year, they transitioned over to a digital format, and trust me, the digital format is fuckloads easier. Because I passed everything except the drafting, the full day exam part, 4 days of exams, and then that final 12-hour exam for the last one. You have to draw everything, and I didn't quite pass that, but the digital stuff was so much easier. So I have no idea if this is going to look like anything or not, but like I said, when in the early phases of this, you start out with vague shapes or vague ideas, and sort of the rest of the drawing will grow from that. That actually might work if I do it that way. This might seem a little morbid, actually, when all said and done, if I draw this the way I'm thinking it's going to work. For about 8 years, I had switched over almost entirely to drawing digitally, and it's only in the past 6 months, 8 months, past year, that I've sort of transitioned back to doing everything in pencil. And I'm kind of glad I did, because it just has sometimes I'd get sort of lost in the digital stuff. And it's amazing how no matter how hard I try with the digital stuff, I could get stuff looking really incredibly detailed and incredibly well, but overall, there was sort of a blahness to it that I could never seem to overcome, which I definitely don't seem to suffer from with the pencil stuff once I really get going with it. So I think I'm starting to get back on track with that. I mean, I feel like I've been spending a lot of time this year just sort of trying to get up to speed with that. We'll see. Having an old school ink pen because my instructor wanted to do it. Were they rapidographs, or were you using the line pens? Remember what do they call those things? The quills. Uh, yeah, I mean, I actually honestly enjoy doing I mean, when I draw a ceiling, a lot of people who, when they draw a ceiling, and they may think, oh, if they even notice the fact that there's drop tile ceiling, acoustic tile ceiling in there, they'll probably just draw lines for it, but they don't understand. I'll actually go in and I'll draw all the lines and think about the corners and think of how things are centered. So, oh yeah, the pitographs. Oh, God, I hated those things. I absolutely hated the pitographs. I mean, pens are at least a little more easy to work with today. So I'm going to see about drawing Ping in full evil boss mode here, actually. Do not even go for the stick figure and building upon that. No, not usually. What I usually base all of my drawings on has more to do with trying to build it on some expression or some generalized form that'll come out of things. I'm trying to say something. I'm not trying to build something, I guess is what it means. And this is absolutely the wrong way to draw. That's why I try not to tell people, it's like, you want me to teach you how to do, no, I can't really, because my techniques are so bad. What is that, Jack? You want to share the project? Is it the one that you made? Okay, you can go ahead and share it. You know, it's a little bit like sort of finding the shapes as you do it. Oh god, jabbing yourself with those things was horrible. Never actually got anything permanent though, but yes, the rot ring point 1A. That's what's nice about it. I mean, these days, you get the Copic multiliners, and there's various others like it where you don't need to worry about the delivery systems and whatnot. But there are times I wish you could get these in other colors, or mix your own, much like you can with me. But the thing is that when I think back to how much trouble it was to work with the pitolines or pitographs and the multiline, those things were a nightmare. You get those little, you'd sort of take them apart and try to clean them, and that, you'd be pulling them apart, and that little wire would come out, and you'd try to put it back together, and that wire would get bent, and then you'd have a $10 marker or pen as total toast. Yeah, no, I don't. And I'm so not a fan of inking in general. And it's not so much that I think there's anything wrong with inking. I think it could be a wonderful thing. But in my case, there's no question that whenever I try to ink, I always end up losing something. Something about the expression, something about the shape, something about the dynamicism of it will sort of vanish on me while I'm working on it. So let me zoom in a smidge more. What am I writing? Well, I'm trying to draw another character in this series of arcs that I'm working on. This is a recent one that I did. So it's the same sort of thing, same type of theme, same type of setting, with the goal of eventually bringing them to color. So this is just sort of the start of the process. This is another character, this is Pink, and in her case, I'm drawing her right now. She's way to the left side of the screen, so but her arm positions and motions are actually quite interesting to what I'm trying to draw and trying to show. Epson Premium Presentation. No, let's see. Actually, it's not present. It's Ultra. I know this is ridiculous, but it's actually there's Premium Presentation paper, which is the wrong one, and then there's Ultra Premium. See the difference? Ultra Premium is the one to get. Ultra Premium Presentation paper matte. The other paper is the Hewlett Packard HP. The bright white inkjet paper. This stuff. HP bright white inkjet paper. Pretty much the standard stuff. You can get it in just about any office supply place. They don't carry it at Walmart, unfortunately, which would be handy. But Oh, it's even more premium. Yeah, Super Mega Ultra Presentation Paper 7 Arcade Edition. See, it's so easy to get it mixed up. I'm probably gonna have to. Let's see. The GSM, the Ultra Premium is 192 GSM. The regular premium is 165. This is okay. You can work with the 44 pound, but the 51 pound, the 192 is best. And the reason is when you're doing the Copic work, you can get a lot of fluid on it, and the more the heavier paper can deal with having much more fluid on the surface without it bubbling and sort of water bubbling, so to speak. So, and in the end, you end up with a perfectly good surface that it seems to work with. So. Well, my printer, I have a high-end, I've got a Photo RS3000 or R3000 photo printer, which actually prints using pigment inks as opposed to sort of the regular inks. So it's a fine art printer is what it is. And the pigment inks are very solid and they're not soluble by the Copic markers, so that's the main reason to do it that way. Whereas pencil, if you try to use Copic markers over pencil, it doesn't really work very well. I did an example the other day. Which will probably show up on your screens. The Copic multiliners, you hit them with a little bit of Copic, it's not a problem. But pencil, you can see it just smears like crazy. And there are a lot of ink pens too that actually smear pretty badly. So, but yeah, no, the higher end, it's designed to handle much heavier paper. In fact, the fine art prints that I sell in the Mega Gear store are actually heavier than that. The Moab Entrada is, oh god, it's a GSM on that. I don't even remember. That's some shit right there. So, this stuff. Actually, this is 190 GSM, so it's not all that different. So, actually, now I see that. But this has a bigger tooth to it, and this paper is excellent for printing on, but it is really terrible for doing part work on, because the way the tooth is on it, it's designed for printing, sort of dropping ink right on it. Whereas it's not really, it does not like the back and forth of a pencil line or a pencil or a marker. It'll catch the tooth of the paper. So, paper, there's millions of different types of paper out there, and a lot of times it's just, fiddling around with it till you get the kind that works best for you. Yeah, I know, it's a horrible word. What? Thought I told you to go away. Are you bothering me? Or am I bothering you? Nothing. Seriously. I think your storm has passed. It's just wet out there.
No.
Come on, quit complaining.
No. No.
Uh-oh. What? What are you complaining about, Cat? Of course, the main thing about cats is that you cannot look them in the eye when they're irritated. If you look a cat in the eye when he's irritated and you're irritated, he will attack you because he'll view that as a threat. You got to sort of look askance a little bit sometimes in dealing with him. Really? But you got to be in a good mood, cat. Your Uncle Scott's coming over later. He's gonna take. I don't want him to think that you're like a nasty, angry cat. Yeah, well, fat chance of that. Alright, now what was I doing? I don't know if this is actually going to fit on the page properly. Yeah, it's currently the idea that I had has to do with ping. Problem is drawing this properly is going to be really, really difficult. Yeah, I should do ping as a triptych is what I should do. 3 pages wide. Haven't done that sort of thing before. Of course, your hair is going to be an absolute disaster. Let's see. Oops. Yeah. Tell you what I'm missing, because I don't have any coffee at the moment. That's what I really feel like. Now, in this case, I mean, I'm not really sure what exactly the upshot of what's going on here with ping is. And it's not so much that I don't have an idea of what it would be, but there's going to be a reason for whatever is going on here and what she's doing, but we may not know that right away. And in fact, a lot of times one of the reasons for doing a drawing like this is to sort of discover, well, you sort of start with the basic idea of what you think is happening here, and then say what it is exactly that Ping is trying to say here with this you know, this pose. I know it sounds incredibly trite. Oh, let the characters do the talking. Oh, no, it's, you know, I'm trying to use big words. A triptych. Now I have this idea. Now I actually sort of want to do a triptych, which is insane. I really see. I'm you know, always great with the ideas, and they always take an enormous amount of time to execute. One of the primary lessons of manga and anime format is it's a time saver. That's the whole point. Otherwise, you know, most traditional, not most traditional, but most anime and manga formats are the way they are in an effort to cut time. You know, you want to try to get as much out as you can in as much little bit of time. So the format itself, you know, the design, the efficiency of the design of the face and the body structure and how that all works has a lot to do with conveying emotional information very efficiently. That's why manga and anime is popular, frankly. The abstraction of it works quite well, and you can have single pieces and things like that where you sort of come out and come out, but you know, you use that very efficient language, and you get very complex with it to make very complicated statements. And I definitely do that. But at the same time, I mean, it's designed to be an efficient way to produce comics or produce comic art. And unfortunately, I've bastardized that whole approach myself. And as a result, well, let's see. Most of the anime creators likes good anime shows. Yeah, I mean that's for anything. I mean, you know, if you look at TV shows, anime, manga, wherever, you know, a large chunk of whatever is made is not the high end. It's not the, you know, prevalent. I hesitate to say that anybody's work is not good. That's not really quite fair. Some people, what they put in some of my favorite comics, actually, the artwork is very simple and very plain almost, and actually very flawed. In fact, it's funny. Yes, actually I do. This kind of cracks me up, actually. This is Last Game, which is a wonderful story. I absolutely love this book, and I love the characters in it. The artwork is very shoujo, very simple, very plain in a lot of ways, but at the same time, it gets an awful lot across. And you know, her backgrounds are painful. You know, more often than not. Like if you look at the background here, Inagi and Kujo, I mean, the bookstore, and I mean, I would over detail things like crazy compared to that. But the, you know, for instance, here's an attempt at a background with some chairs and whatnot. Now, like I said, this is one of my favorites. I love this story. The thing that cracks me up the most, though, is if you look at the cover, and I don't know if you can see what they did there. I don't know if anybody can see it, because it cracked me up. And this is obviously the first one she did, so. What happened here, if you really look, you'll notice it's got some fleur-de-lis and some little bits of shape with the flowers and all sorts of crap in there. But the real thing, if you look carefully, look at her legs. And look at how this drawing works. I mean, he's not too bad, but she's sitting in the arm of that chair, and that is a nightmare right there. But this was the cover art. If you took that heart away, you could see how kind of awkward that looks. So what they did is they've sort of done a little bit of messing with some artwork to sort of pop a little something on the front. So it's, you know, it's picking on. And like I said, this is true. This is actually my favorite manga in recent years. It really is. And by Shinobu Shinobu Amano Shinobu. But it's just funny. You know, this is ribbon. This is Hana Toyomi Comics. This is very popular stuff. In fact, this series is actually relatively popular. And you can see these sort of gaps even in the artwork here. So it's not unusual. Not all manga artwork is awesome. So, see, I look to those things as a spring of hope for my own crappy approaches to doing things. I try to compensate in different ways, though. I try to compensate by pretending I'm going to work on this thing and make something incredibly awesome. Now I have a concept I'm actually trying to play with here. Oh, Masumi first asking if we can spot the problem and before typing it just pronounce it out. I actually don't do that often. It has to do with the lag, so I apologize for that. You want to tell me? What is it? What is it? So this is an existing game you want to get? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's called
Beaming Drive. Is it a scratch game? Or is it's a PC game?
Yeah. I'll show you one of it.
Okay. Hang on a moment. Okay, sorry about that. Exploding things mostly naked. That would be what is going on here. I don't know. Let's see. No. This particular album I'm listening to, that's not it. See, I usually, that's my alarm to get back from school. I even leave it on during the summertime because I forget to turn it off. Mountain Fun. By a group called GAS, G-A-S. And there's quite a few albums and quite a few tracks on this. Very drone-ish atmosphere, of course, which for some reason I seem to really be in the mood for today. I should be doing a storyboard here, which I've got everything printed out ready to go on, but for some reason, as usual, you gotta go with, your inspiration starts nudging you in a certain direction, and next thing you know, you're off doing it. And that said, I have no idea if this is starting to look like anything or not. The big challenge is going to be the fact that where this thing is in the corner here and what this trail is going to be. And what exactly metaphorically is sort of going on with this? It makes for interesting stuff. It certainly does. I think it is going well, I think. Do I have a schedule? I can't find one in the description. My schedule is very simple. Whenever I'm working, whether it's comics or artwork or sketching, or most things that might even be somewhat remotely interesting to watch, I do it live. It's just part of the way I like to do things. That's why my view count looks so incredibly high. So, almost every day. Not every day, but most every day. There are times where I'm too busy or things are ramping up and I can't work on it. I've got a period actually later this week from Wednesday through Sunday I will not be online because I am taking my son out camping out to Muskegon area. So I will not be online during that, but basically all the rest of the time I'm online and off I go. So yeah, and sometimes the sessions are interesting, sometimes they're not. As far as I don't always use a microphone for broadcasting. Usually, when Sarah and Jack are inside working on stuff, I'll probably usually leave the mic off and then just have music or whatever. But it's actually only recently that I've started adding, the broadcast mic, which I don't know if it's really worth the change. But maybe the nice thing about it is it's some variety from the music instead of just some music. Yeah, it basically just if you follow and you get notifications, you'll get emails or whatever that say when I'm online. You can usually check. Usually when I go online, I'm online for several hours at a time. Every once in a while I'll go online and I'm not online for long, but usually if I go online, I go online for a good period of time. Yeah, basically, that's exactly what she's doing. She's sort of sitting in the... I'm sort of mimicking, and it's very... If it's not a very, true lotus position, it certainly looks that way, the way that she's holding up the cords and the wires. So. It sounds like you use aimless sketching to pry the characters and their story from their subconscious. That is exactly what I do. That is what I have been doing for 15 years. And it's not that you don't sometimes have a basic idea, but it's not a fully worked out guide. It's a framework. Like for instance with this sketch, the idea was I wanted Ping to, I was thinking back to the Ping OS where she is sort of in more of a boss mode than anything, and I tried thinking, well, so you get the flowing, you get this other stuff, so then I just sort of popped her down, started working with it, and the more the shape started to come together, it also, you start to get a sense of what the expression is. Like for instance, this is not a smart-ass, very tough look that she's giving. She's there's something very subtle and almost kind of sad about the expression. Like I said, the crux of my drawings is not the form, but usually the expression on the face, which is accentuated or contrasted by the body language. So everything about it is the old point. You're trying to get some sort of emotive content across, and that works best when. Very often when I'm doing comics, I may have, when people ask me how far I'm ahead, I have things written out. The answer is I don't. I have a rough framework where I think things are going. But what'll happen often is I'll sit down and I'll draw the comic and I'll draw the pages, and I don't usually even have dialogue when I start drawing a comic. And the reason is because I don't know what that... I can come up with dialogue, but it doesn't sound very interesting. It's only when you start putting that sequence of characters together and expressions and various other things, that's where my creativity comes out, I guess. And then from there, those characters will say what they're going to say. And sometimes it's exactly not what you thought was going to happen. I've seen characters, I thought something was going to happen, I start drawing them in a particular way, and by the time I'm finished with the drawings, I found that character was saying something completely different, and which led the story in a completely different direction. So, yeah. Oh yeah, I'm trying to think. There's a term for a certain type of a network event or a computer-based event that has almost explosive connotations, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. But in the process of doing this, You know, she's very much a, you know, she was not created with Wi-Fi. She was not created as a, let's see, should the pencil, pen, marker, ink FAQ be in the same question answer format as your FredArting FAQ? Yes, I think that works very well. That's sort of the same, like, you know, what type of pencils do you use? Answer. So yeah. I'm sort of course, anybody who knows some of the original inspiration for some of the Megatokyo stuff will probably recognize what anime I'm sort of roughly spoofing here. Not spoofing, but there's some definite references to it in this, and it's not usually Ping that I've drawn. What is this storyboarding for? Well, the storyboarding is not actually what I'm doing. Although for me, you know, for the way I work, individual drawings like this often are a kind of storyboard element for me, because I'll start with a concept or a thought about how I want something to happen, and for me, you know, rough drawings like this, or even full and finished drawings, have a constructive